You want to do some theme music really quick? Welcome to the OutLoud&Awkward podcast, where one grown man sits in his own basement and talks about everything that he loves. I am your host, Richard, and I have no guests tonight, so it will be me, sad and lonely, all by my lonesome. I have a good one for you guys this week, so we're going to go ahead and hop into it and talk about what I've been watching and reading for the past 2 weeks. And the first thing I want to talk about is the Walking Dead series, which I talked about on the last episode that I've been reading it. And I think now I'm on chapter 100. There's like 192 chapters, and it's getting really good. Right now I'm in like the Alexandria portion, and I remember that was about the part. It was a little bit after that, like they got to Alexandria, and I know we meet Negan in the TV show, and that was about where I stopped watching, was kind of after the Alexandria stuff and like Negan. So I'm excited to like see like where the comic kind of goes, because I don't really know if what happens in the TV show after, like certain things are nearly the same as in the comic series or not. So I'm excited to see where the comic series takes certain characters and takes certain things, because already it's pretty different from what the TV show was, at least from what I can remember for the most part. But I've been really enjoying that and watching that series, or reading that series. Another thing that I watched, well, and then of course I've been keeping up with Black Clover and One Piece, you know, same as always. Blue Lock Mint. I haven't watched the newest episode yet, but I do plan on watching it here soon, probably in the next couple days. And then I watched the Creed 3 movie, and that was really good. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. It still had like some slow moments. I didn't really care too much for the overall story all that well. I liked the characters, like Jonathan Majors' character in it, and I know he's been under a lot of backlash. I'm not going to get into any of that with what's going on with all of that, but I liked his character and like what he was doing. Of course, I loved Adonis and what he was doing, the fight choreography, and it was really good. And you could see where Michael B. Jordan was really pulling from, you know, anime, because he's very much a big anime lover, and he was inspired by like many different animes, like that of Naruto and was it Ippo, the fighting? I can't remember exactly how to pronounce it, but you could tell that he got a lot of inspiration from those and what those animes kind of did in terms of fight choreography, and I did enjoy seeing that. I thought it was really clever, but overall the story was not like my favorite. I think it was better than the second one, but I still like the first Creed more than this one. And it's the same with, I mean, the Rocky movies are pretty much kind of beat for beat the same kind of thing. A lot of it's the same story told over and over again. Another thing that I've been watching here recently that I wanted to make sure I talked about and went in a little deep. There is another thing that I've been watching that is the main focal point of this. But I found this TV show on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Prime Video. And it's a TV show that was produced and made for Epic. But it's called From. It is this super dark TV show where this family they're going on like a trip, like a vacation, but they run into this fallen down tree, and then all of a sudden they have to turn back the way they came. They come through a town. They end up coming through this town, and they're trying to leave, but they just keep lapping back around. They get stuck in this basically circle, more or less, that constantly brings them back into the town, no matter which way they exit out. And the town is basically haunted, like, or it has monsters within the town that only come out at night, and it really tries to get into people's homes and mess with their minds, and it basically just tortures them when it kills them. And this show, like, immediately, right as you get into the first episode, like, it shows you just how dangerous these creatures are. And so it's really interesting, and it's good watch. It's very much like a mystery box horror where like you don't really know what's going on, and so like you're slowly starting to get these things that are uncovered. There's only one season right now on Amazon Prime, and I'm pretty sure later in April in this month we're supposed to, I think another one is supposed to be coming out, like another season's coming out soon. I'm just not exactly sure when. I can't remember. I remember looking it up when I was watching the show, but now I can't exactly remember when it's coming out. But it is a really good show, and I highly recommend it if you have Prime Video or any other way to watch this TV show. But it's called From, and I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, but I think if you enjoy like a good like horror, like mystery box, like kind of what's going on type of thing, it's a fun watch, and it's slow, obviously, but I quite enjoyed what was going on throughout most of the episodes that were happening. The characters are really interesting, and the way that they play off each other is really cool, and the concept is what was really kind of what hooked me, is because I saw it on TikTok originally, and then I went and looking for it, and I found it on Amazon Prime Video. So, and it's free on Prime Video, by the way. So I think that's about all I've really been been keeping up on Vinland Saga, but I think that's really about well, I could talk about Bad Batch, but I'm going to save that for the next episode because I'm doing a big Star Wars episode with one of my friends. They're going to come over and we're going to talk Star Wars for the next episode, so I'm excited for that. So I'll get into Bad Batch talk and Star Wars. I'll save it. I'll save you people the Star Wars stuff for a week, all right? We'll save it for a week. So I think now is probably where I'm going to go ahead and get into what I'd like to call the beef of this episode, the meat of this episode. We're talking about the new Netflix comedy drama that released, what was it, last week on the 6th of April. I'm definitely dating this episode when it was recorded. But it's called Beef, and it stars Steven Yeun and, give me 1 second, I think her name is Ali Wong, but I don't want to be wrong. I think it's Steven Yeun and Ali Wong, though. Where is it at? I don't even see it anywhere. Yeah, Ali Wong. And both of those actors and the actress are phenomenal in this TV show. But it basically, the whole premise of it, and it's created by Lee Sung-jin. I think it's mostly a Korean cast, and it's really, really well written and funny as heck. And obviously I'm going to get into spoilers with it, but the premise is basically these two strangers, both Steven Yeun's character and Ali Wong's character, get into a road rage that like it brings chaos into their lives basically because of this road rage that happens. And I'm not going to go too deep into it before I get into spoilers, but if you have a chance and you haven't went to watch this comedy drama on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It is a really good watch. It is hysterical, and like you don't really know what's coming up next for most of what's going on. It is very unpredictable. It has a very wide range of emotions that leave you feeling kind of uncomfortable at times. Because when you think that the show is going to go one way, it takes a very sharp turn and like reveals something totally different to the audience. And it's a very multi-layered story that is deep, and I know it left me contemplating stuff for a couple days after I finished all 10 episodes out of the show, because it's really like, this is what anger does to somebody. Like, it just takes over everything in your life. But it's a very wild ride, and I think I think most of the people that listen to this will really enjoy it. But if you do get a chance to watch it, I say go ahead, give it a shot before I get into the spoilers of this TV show. So here it is, your spoiler warning right here, right now. Here it is. But it's, like I said, it stars Ali Wong, who plays Amy Jo, I think? Amy Lau. And then Steven Yeun plays Danny Chow. Or Danny Cho, because there's a Cho Bros. Danny Cho's character, especially at the beginning, like the first time we see him, it's really weird because you're like, he's like trying to return these like 3 different propane grills, and we don't really know why. And like the guy at the counter is like, "This is your 3rd time you've come in here to return these," and you're just kind of like, "Is Danny just like a con man? Is that what he's trying to do?" Like, okay. Needless to say, he can't return the grills, so he packs them back into his truck and is about to leave. And as he's backing up, a car like comes up right behind him and then just lays on their horn, and he starts yelling and freaking out. And the car, still honking the horn, eventually drives off, but then stops and then flips off Steven Yeun, Danny, and Danny gets into this rage, and Danny's character ends up chasing the other car down, completely following them, trying to run them off the road, trying to hunt them down just to get back at them for flipping him off. And like, we don't know who the character is at first, but eventually we do find out that the other driver of the car is Ali Wong's character, Amy. And you know, Amy has this whole different stressful thing. And the thing that I loved about the show was just how these like small events, like obviously people have things that build up in their lives, and then one small thing can just trigger this enormous explosion out of somebody. And clearly this event exposed Danny and Amy, and they just blew up, and they went full force at each other without stopping. And you know, eventually Danny like is trying to say that he got back at Amy Lau, and this one singular like road rage moment just spurred all of these different events of each of them coming at each other, attacking one another, trying to get back at the other person. And like Danny would do something, and then Amy would come back and do something, and then Danny would come back, and then Amy, and eventually like it just kept like hitting, and they kept butting heads like back and forth over and over again constantly. And we meet a bunch of other characters who are also amazing. Eventually we meet Danny's brother, who is Paul. We find out that Danny runs a construction company with his brother Paul, but his brother doesn't really like to work or really do anything. And Danny's always wanted to run a construction company and like be a big name construction guy. And it turns out that their parents had to move back to Korea because there was a money laundering thing going on at the motel that Danny and Paul's parents owned. And it turns out that that was their cousin, Isaac, who was using the hotel as a cover-up for his money laundering schemes, and eventually gets Danny and Paul's parents kicked back to Korea. And so Danny's just trying to work back up to get his parents back to America. But he's basically running a very failing construction company, and it's not really going anywhere, and his construction company is slowly going bankrupt, and he doesn't really know what to do. And I liked his character probably the best out of it, and also I just love Steven Yeun as a actor. I think he's amazing. I loved him in The Walking Dead as Glenn. He was in Nope, and I thought he was really good. He's been in a bunch of other things that I've really liked. He was in another movie that was about anger issues, which I thought is hilarious. I can't remember what the name of it is right now, but it was like if you got like a red eye, like it's like a pink eye kind of situation, but you would just get driven with like this anger, and you'd want to kill the person that you hate the most kind of thing. So I thought that was really interesting. But we meet these 3 characters, and they kind of form their own construction business and kind of doing their own thing. And then we go back to Amy's character, and you can see the life that she's been living. It doesn't feel like a real life. It feels really fake. She feels like she doesn't really love her husband, who's played by Joseph Lee, and he plays George, her Japanese husband. And like there's that whole like thing where she's Korean, he's Japanese, and it really bounces off that really well. And like it goes into like very like rooted in their Asian Korean like nationality, where Koreans normally, like, the parents want a Korean child to marry another Korean, and it kind of falls into that. And the same with like a Japanese child, normally they want their child to marry a Japanese. At least that's what I got from it. I don't know if that's actually a thing or not, but that's what I got. But we meet those two, and meet eventually Allie's daughter June, who's a very odd case, but she's very lovable and sweet and not an annoying child at all. Like I loved her little character so much, and she was just like a weird little kid. I thought it was as cute as can be, but you could see that Amy's kind of struggling with everything around her, and even her mother-in-law. I think it's Fumi is her mother-in-law in the TV show, and she like criticizes everything that Amy does. But Amy is this very, I can't remember. She runs an interior decorating kind of business, I think. I can't remember exactly, but it's going somewhere. It's like very up and up kind of thing. Like she makes a lot of money, and she's trying to sell her business while all this road rage stuff is kind of going on. So she's going through all that stress too. And Ali Wong is an amazing comedian. I think she is wonderful. I can't remember what all she's in, but I know she's been in I can't think of the titles, but I know she's been in a couple different things. She's fantastic, and she's such a dynamic actor who delivers big in her roles, especially in this one as one of the two main characters. And then like they kind of have that whole back and forth throughout the TV show. We eventually meet more of Isaac's friends, and kind of what Isaac is doing, and like he's just trying to con Danny into making himself more money kind of thing. And eventually Danny doesn't like that he's not in control of everything, and a whole lot of other things happen. Again, I'm not going to try to go into too much detail to avoid big spoilers for if you're watching it, but I guess this is the spoiler part. What am I doing? But eventually stuff comes to a very large head, and I know from what I remember, Danny eventually, like, he starts working at a church. He's going to this church and trying to get money from the church kind of thing. And it's this whole crazy story of these two people who are just butting heads. And they're both just trying to make the best of their lives. But they are constantly locked in this battle between one another, I guess you could say. And just seeing how anger can really change what's going on in your lives is insane. But Danny eventually gets Isaac arrested for the road rage incident. Isaac goes to prison. Danny takes like basically all of the money that Isaac had been funding and money laundering into the country, and he uses that to buy his parents a house and try to get his parents back here. And more stuff kind of comes up and goes as the story kind of goes on, and it's just so dynamic and hilarious. And I love every second of what's going on throughout the TV show, and the cast of characters are so lovable. Like, Paul starts off as this very big idiot, but eventually, like, you grow to love him. Like, I didn't like him the first couple episodes, but then he starts to grow on you as a character. And I mean, I loved Danny and Amy, like, at the beginning. Like, at first I was kind of like, Danny's kind of an ass. Like, he overreacted with the honking kind of situation. But I think all the characters in the show work really well off of one another. They bounce really well. The storyline kept me hooked from pretty much the beginning. I loved everything that happened within the story. And overall, it's just a really, really good TV show that Netflix actually released. I'm surprised that Netflix put out a good TV show for the first time in a very long while. But just kind of everything that goes on is just insane. You find out more about Amy's love life and what's going on with her and George and how they're kind of slowly fading apart from one another, but she can't accept that, and then she eventually cheats on him with Paul, and and she was cheating on George with Paul to get back at Danny, but then eventually she actually grows attached with Paul, and it's just this crazy story of like how anger, like one little act of anger can honestly just change, and I mean, I keep repeating that, but that's really what it is how anger can absolutely consume somebody for no reason. Like, there's no reason for anger to get to you that much, that's what it does to you, kind of thing. Like I said, if you did choose to listen to this part of the episode, I highly recommend go check it out for yourselves. It's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, if you know somebody that has Netflix, just get the password. It'll be fine. Netflix, they can get over it. I mean, this is that, or if you can find it some other way. I mean, there's so many sites that you can watch TV shows for free. But it is one of the better TV shows that Netflix has dropped in a while, and it really hit me emotionally and like made me look back on like times where I was a little angry and I probably shouldn't have been. Like, you don't know what that person's going through, and you don't know what their home life is. You don't know what their just normal day-to-day is, like what's going on with them. So it's definitely eye-opening. It's a very eye-opening TV show, and I loved it a lot, and I loved what it did and what it had to say. But other than that, like, it's just a really good show with an amazing cast of characters, amazing storyline, and it really just hooks you in very, very well. And I highly recommend everybody to go watch it if they can. I don't really have anything else on it other than that, and because it is just a 10-episode series, and I'm excited to see. I don't know what they would be able to do with a second season, whether they focused it on a different cast of characters or what have you. Because I don't know, with how the story ends, eventually Danny and Amy kind of have this come to Jesus. Let's just say that what it is. They have this come to Jesus moment in the woods, and they realize that if they had just talked about their issues sooner, like one with each other, but just with somebody, all of this like could have been avoided for the most part. Like, they come to realize that, and it's just like, wow, like if you just go and talk to the person that you're having a problem with, like, you can probably solve this issue pretty quickly. But like, nobody wants to do that. Like, that's not in our human brains to want to do that. Like, we just want to hold that resentment and hold that anger in. And so that's like one of the things I loved about it. And it ends with eventually, because they're like lost in the woods, and they get back to LA, and George, Amy's husband, comes to find them, and obviously Danny and Amy are very broken and like they dirty, and I think Danny's shoulder is like broken because of events that happened. Amy can't walk because I think she broke her ankle or something, and they're trying to like hobble back into LA, and George finds them, and George pulls out a gun and shoots Danny, and he ends up in the hospital, and he's like basically unconscious and on like a breathalyzer and a bunch of equipment, and he's just laying there, and Amy is next to him, and she's just kind of comforting him, and it's kind of like, these are the consequences of the anger that they both had towards each other. Like, this is what happened, and if it had been solved sooner, none of what had happened would have happened, kind of thing. And so that's why I'm like, if they do a second season, are they going to keep the same characters? Because now that like beef that they have is gone, like it's been settled. They've settled their beef between one another. Or will they go or they could just totally not do another season. I would be okay with this being like a one-off season, and that'd be fine. But if they did do another season, I'd like to see them do like another season with like a different kind of cast of characters type of thing. Like you do a different set of beef between some people, but then a lot of times you're going to run into the samey kind of storyline. And so that's why in my head I'm thinking I would much rather this just be a one-off, and I can just come back to watch this TV show this season like one time, and that's all I need kind of thing. And it's just really enjoyable to watch. I highly recommend it for you guys. Again, I've said that like 3 times now, but I do think it is a really good TV show that if you get a chance to watch it, even if you listen to the spoilers, there's still stuff that I'm pretty sure I missed, that if you get a chance to go watch it, and even if you know what's going on, like even if you listen to this and you can be like, oh, this is what's about to happen, it's still enjoyable just for the cast. Like the 2 main characters knock it out of the park, and I think them alone is what can make you enjoy the TV show, even if you know what's kind of going on, if you get my drift. But I don't know, it's like I'm getting paid by Netflix how much I'm fucking hyping up this TV show right now, but trust me, it's amazing, and I really love what it does. But yeah, I don't have really anything else on the TV show, and I don't really have anything else that I need to talk about, so it's another short one this week. Next week will probably be a little bit longer because it will be me and somebody else kind of bouncing off one another doing Star Wars talk. We're going to talk about the new Mandalorian because it's bi-weekly, so we'll actually talk about the season finale of Season 3 of The Mandalorian. We're going to talk about the Bad Batch, the Ahsoka trailer, all of the Jedi stuff, like Star Wars stuff that is upcoming. We're going to try to really break that down and like dive into it, and just I guess our overall thoughts on it. And then also Andor, because I know another season of Andor is coming out, and I'm kind of excited for it. I know a lot of people had their judges against that show, but I thought it was a really well written Star Wars TV show with a lot of drama. Oh, so good. But yeah, make sure you go and check out Beef on Netflix. It's out now. 1 season, it's really good. Or check out From, another 1 season on Amazon Prime Video. It's really good. I highly recommend that one. But definitely Beef. Beef is where it's at. Honestly, go get that beef. But if I missed anything, if you guys had any opinions on this TV show, please feel free to email me at OutLoud&Awkward or OutLoud&Awkwardpod@gmail.com. I normally go through my email every other week and kind of look through it and see if anybody has emailed me and what they've said, and haven't gotten any. I'm sad. So hopefully you guys email me sometime. Make sure you follow me on the socials, which is Instagram and Twitter. I don't really do much on the Twitter side, more on the Instagram side of things. But I normally post when I'm going to have an upload soon, when the upload is out, and yeah. I mean, you can also go follow my actual Instagram too. It's just that one Gibson. Check out my Twitch. It's called Rich Gaming Gibson. I stream every Monday, Thursday, every week. I also have a YouTube channel called Gibson Gaming, and I am currently playing through Jedi Fallen Order, and I'm having a lot of fun with it, so go check that out as well. But other than that, I will talk to you guys in the next episode, Star Wars. It's coming at you hard. But I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody. Have a blessed rest of your day.